Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster. My name is Gaius Bowling, and I am joined with our good friend Jack.
How we doing, gang? How we doing?
Chilling. Jack was on our Spider-Man episode back in December, and the reason Owen is not here, Owen is actually out of town for work. He did bring all his stuff to the hotel to record and everything, but life happens, so we pivot, we make it work. And he'll be back on next week for another actually special episode that we'll talk about a little bit later on here. But thank you, Jack, for coming on and taking his spot. He said that he was happy that you could fill in. I just got the text, so yes.
I mean, of course, man. What else am I gonna do? I'm gonna watch comic book movies and stuff anyways, reading stuff, so might as well talk about it.
I usually start off by asking if we've watched anything new over the weekend. Did you kind of catch anything over the weekend, or is it kind of too busy?
I didn't watch anything this weekend. I'm watching Space Force, season 2 Space Force. Just messing around with it. It's funny. I mean, I enjoy it, but not much.
I forgot it existed. I kind of forgot it existed because like season 1 was a while ago, or it feels like it was.
It was a long time ago, but like I was like, put it on, something in the background. So it's funny, and I like how like they give the actual actors like a chance to direct shows and stuff like that.
Right.
So I had a good time with it, but no, nothing. You?
Well, I didn't watch this over the weekend, but I can talk about it now because when we recorded before, I had seen it like 2 weeks ago, and it was under embargo, so I can talk about it. But Uncharted came out over the weekend, but I saw it 2 weeks ago.
Tom Holland reign continues.
Yeah, at the time I couldn't say anything about it, but I reviewed it for the website, and I had to judge it purely on never playing the video games ever, based solely on like its own merits. I thought it was like a fun action adventure movie and perfectly harmless,
which is what it should be. I mean, like.
Right.
When that first, like, what movie would you want to make? Tom was like, it's a little unknown game called Uncharted.
Right.
If it's a little unknown game, no one's gonna know what this movie is. So going at it with just like, I'm here to watch Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg movie is probably the better way to go about it.
Right.
Just because if you're part of the game, I'd imagine, or you're a fan of the game, I'd imagine you'd have some nitpicks just because a game is so expansive.
So I guess the biggest nitpick, and that's been the biggest nitpick since they announced it, was making it a prequel instead of because they cast him and he's significantly younger than the character in the games, but they made it a prequel to kind of, I think, to avoid direct comparisons to the video game, just in case they weren't like, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. Actually, I feel like it ended up being smarter because we'll talk about the box office in a little bit, but I think that kind of helped the uninitiated kind of take it in a little bit more than those who are fans of it.
They definitely learned from I haven't seen it, just let everyone know. I have not seen it, but I will see it because of this. But the video game movie curse, they heavily rely on the comic book source material. And the best example I have when it went horribly wrong is Assassin's Creed, where they it didn't make any sense. They tried putting the Animus in there and all that stuff. Could have just made a great Assassin's Creed movie. Sounds like with Uncharted, they just took the base premises of an exciting, quippy action adventure treasure hunt and made a good movie out of it. My friend, he told me it was like a new national treasure. I was like, that's probably what they were looking at when they were like, what can we do now? I
think that's what they were going for. And there's also the comparisons to like Indiana Jones and like, stuff like that, which is why, I think some critics, because it has like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, but this is a prime example of like critics not liking something and it not being made for them, because like it got a B+ cinema score. The audience score is like in the 80% range. So like moviegoers like it more than critics did.
And if we don't have an adventure franchise at all, like there's not a popular franchise there. We can consider Fast and Furious maybe travel, action fantasy, but like there's no like real long. So I feel like this could be the start of something where they can make a lot of like National Treasure or Indiana Jones, as you say, like they can make it along. And I just don't think that they were like, okay, you're just going to give us a Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg movie, shove it down our throats. Forget them.
My biggest like compliment to it, because like usually when a movie's in development as long as it was, I think all the way back to 2008, and it's had like 5 different directors attached and so many people attached to star, like it's been in development for so long that Mark Wahlberg was once up for Nathan Drake. That's how many years have gone by since like it was in development. So like, you hear all those stories and you're like, oh, that can't be good then. Like if it's gone through all of this kind of stuff. And like considering that like it went through all that and had the odds working against it, I thought it turned out pretty decent and it was fun. The characters
who made it, right?
Sony made it, and like
so like what you're saying, it's like I kept reading it, kept getting directors and rewrites and shutdown. As I don't know what the hell is with this kid. He's got the magic touch. Tom Holland. Tom Holland had Spider-Man: Homecoming come out, and then like a couple months later, boom, Uncharted is greenlit again. They found a new big actor.
Yep.
I mean, this kid he's the man. Everyone, Sony's like, we're just gonna let you do what you want, essentially. Like,
yep. And it's kind of interesting that, like, you know, it was released so close off the back of No Way Home, which is probably like a smart mistake. Not a mistake, but I also think it's interesting that he talked about how it wasn't a lot of days in between finishing one film and jumping on the next. He went from one to one, like back to back. So to have success with it again, like both films being successful, because this was like, you know, talking like going into its box office and stuff, like it was tracking at like 30 million for the 4-day weekend, which would have been good, considering like, you know, the reviews and everyone on social media at first being like, this isn't our Uncharted, like this is what we asked for, but it ended up exceeding that. It made like 51 million over the 4-day weekend, and it needed to prove that he could open a film outside of Spider-Man,
out of Marvel.
In Marvel, it did that, and Sony, everyone is very happy with their Sony darling, because he has like another movie, the Fred Astaire biopic is lined up with them, so he like is
and the Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, he's like in league with them for a while. He still hasn't signed a new Spider-Man deal yet. I'm sure he's just waiting.
Let's just wait on the Spider-Man. Like, Jesus. Can we get Miles Morales in there, guys? Like, I know you're gonna put him in the 4th movie, but like, just let's chill out with these. I love them too, but my God, you know what? Just let Tom and Dania chill out for a little bit.
Well, you know, he does say he wants to take a break, because he said the next thing he's doing is this like anthology Apple series that starts shooting soon, and then he said he wants to take a break for a little bit.
Yeah,
probably hang out with his girlfriend, do a little bit of that. I don't think she has a break coming up either, though. I think she's pretty busy like herself. They're both pretty busy right now.
It's funny. I think it was like, yeah, Tom wants to stop, chill out, like start a family. I'm like, yeah, talk to Zendaya about that. I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah,
it would work awesome for Euphoria.
Yeah, it would have. It actually would have. Someone wrote on Instagram, because they captioned what he said about taking a break, and like someone just put on their thing. They're like, "Man, he's taking that break to get Zendaya pregnant." that's what that break's for. So who knows? Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
They're clearly on top of their game right now. You know, like I'm happy that the movie did well, especially because, you know, we need movies to continue to do well in this current like box office climate.
We're getting there with it. We're definitely getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say like, you know, I didn't see it over the weekend, but even that Channing Tatum movie Dog like overperformed, and they got good reviews, and you know, it's a testament of his like draw too, because he hasn't been in the movie in a few years. He took a break.
Speaking on Dog, let me give a shout out. Producer Garrett Levitz. He's my old friend from high school. So shout out to Garrett Levitz. Yeah, great job, man. I'll try and connect to get him on. But great job, dude. I heard it was awesome.
Well, good for him, because like it also exceeded expectations. It made $18 million over the holiday weekend. It was only supposed to do like 12. So it you know, it's a combination of good reviews, and then like Channing Tatum's a draw too, I guess, with his demographic, mostly women. But like, yeah, it did well. Like, and it's cool to see an original movie like that do well too. Like, you know, it's kind of rare, but it was a good thing to see over the weekend, to watch both of these movies do well. And what a good thing for Tom Holland too, to have 2 of your movies in the top 5. You have Spider-Man still hanging on, and like it's so funny because all the drops for Spider-Man week after week are so small, which means that there's just repeat business after repeat business from people just seeing it again.
I mean, I love a good movie 3 times over too, but I mean, it's going back every week.
Yeah, like when it's, I mean, it's made like $770 million here, and I was like, how much more can it make? And it's just like it's just still chilling in the top 5.
But back to Uncharted, how was Marky Mark the return, dude? I haven't seen him in a movie in such a long time.
I like, you know what, he's good at like, I mean, I love his sense of humor and stuff like this, and like, you know, for a little bit, it seems like he doesn't want to play second fiddle to Tom Holland. Like, it takes a while for him to get into the groove of like, all right, like this kid's the lead and I'm like, you know, I'm the old mentor. But like they eventually get into a group together where like their chemistry is really good and the quips sound more like natural and less like scripted. Like you can tell like they eventually they are kind of like riffing
yeah, just going back and forth with each other.
Yeah. And you know, like judging from, you know, what I've heard, and then like I got to interview them for the press junket too, and they have both talked. I mean, Tom Holland talked about their relationship and how he's like basically like an older brother, and I've heard him talk about that in other interviews too. So they got along really well. And I mean, I don't think Mark Wahlberg is one of those people that it's like, well, this was once I was going to lead this a long time ago, and now I'm like not really the old guy, but like you know, this new young guy is like they had.
Mark's if you got to realize that Mark has way more priorities now and is making probably just as much money doing his other business side of things than, you know, hopping on a movie set for 3 months. So, yeah, I mean, but when you're going to get attached to a movie since 2008, you know, you kind of have to follow through with it. But I think it's good. I think it's a way to get Mark back into the scene. Because, like, again, we're not going to sit here and say that he's a Grammy nominating, you know, actor or anything. He's very good. I mean, but he's just a good, like you say, he's very funny sense of humor. He's a funny dude. Everyone likes him. So I see him in the theater, and it's not like because it didn't do well, he would have been like, all right, well, you know, one movie every 4 years. It did well, so it's like, all right, get him back in the saddle. I know he's doing that Preacher movie. With
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, so that could be an intense one, but yeah.
So yeah, no, Mark Wahlberg's interesting because Mark Wahlberg is like he'll do like serious like passion projects. I feel like he does like certain popcorn movies to fund his passion projects. Like he'll do like Transformers so he can do Patriots Day, or you know like so he like it's like that kind of thing and like
any Boston movie.
Yeah, any Boston movie.
Any Boston storyline.
Yeah, so he kind of I've made fun of him for being like the paycheck guy, but he's proven he can do both, and like so it's not like he hasn't Liam Neeson the situation. Like he has more going on.
If we're talking paycheck chasers, what the hell is Bruce Willis doing? Not to go on a tangent, but
I don't know. He hasn't done like a theatrical studio movie since like Glass. I think Glass was the last one.
Pretty sure, yeah. He's just cranking out straight to streaming.
You know, there's like, I mean, I've heard different reasons as to why, some more serious than others, but I don't know. Like,
I didn't want to, just making a quip at it.
But like, yeah, I think, you know, I thought it was pretty like disrespectful for like the Razzies to like make a whole category dedicated to his movies from last year. I mean, like it's a little mean spirited, but I don't know. Like it's so weird to watch like the stuff he was doing a few years ago, like, you know, and now it's all straight to video. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see Uncharted do well. Good to see Dog do well. Happy for your producer friend. You know, we don't have anything really until the Batman comes out in March 4th,
which I cannot wait for.
Right. So like, and then, you know, it gets the whole month of March to itself. So like, depending on, you know, how it's received and everything, that'll be another good example of like if the box office is still alive or people are still going to the movies. The runtime is going to be an issue, I think.
I don't think it is. I don't know if we should get in. I don't know if we should get into this now. We could if we wanted to, but about the Batman. But like, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Matt Reeves doesn't make boring movies.
Right. No, that's true.
He's not like Fincher, where like your heart rate's like staying like the same throughout the entire thing, and all of a sudden it gets
hey. Some of us love David Fincher.
I love David Fincher. I told you I watched Zodiac to like minus the killing scene at the lake. I watched Zodiac because it's such a very nice like calm.
Wait, do you skip it?
I don't skip it. I
you leave the room.
No, I just skip past that part and then start watching from there because it's like I just want to like fall asleep and watch it. But I like Matt Reeves makes great movies. I mean, anytime War of the Planet, any of the Apes movies are on, I'll always watch it.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna do really well with that. But
I think so too. We have a whole episode dedicated to the Batman in like
all right, cool.
2 weeks, I think, whenever after it comes out. So we'll be able to talk about if it was too long and how it stands up with the others. And
we gotta do a little preview episode too. Then that's all.
For sure.
Good. Definitely. All right. But
I'm gonna talk about something that happened today, and this is it has to do with the Academy Awards, and like this is I don't think is a poor decision to do this. But a lot of film fans on Twitter and stuff, I actually, another guy that works for Collider actually messaged me. I put something on Twitter and he was like, "Oh, I can't believe you feel that way," because like he's a cinephile and he thinks that every category should get their moment on the live show. But they decided to not put 8 of the categories on the live show. They're going to record them, pre-record them.
Tell me them one by one.
So
I'll tell you if they should be off, because I am a lazy Academy Awards watcher, right. So it's not like I care. So let me hit me.
Documentary short subject
out.
Film editing
in.
Makeup and hairstyling
in.
Music original score
in.
Production design
out.
Short film animated
in.
Short film live action.
Oh yeah, absolutely in.
And sound design
out.
So this is gonna sound so bad. So the ones that you kept saying into, I actually think they should still be in there because they were talking about someone like original score, like Hans Zimmer is nominated for Dune, and he could win for the first time since like 90. For how long ago he's won. You would want to see that if you're a fan of his, you're a movie fan, you want to see that on the live show. But this isn't.
Unfortunately, it's that like me and you, we know who Hans Zimmer is. Right. I don't think everyone else knows. So everyone doesn't know that he's done Interstellar. He's done, Man of Steel. He's done all these insane scores. He did all
the three the Dark Knight trilogy too. He did all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, everyone knows his work, but no one knows.
Forrest Gump. If you want to go all the way back there, he's like one of the best composers ever, right? So I don't think this is what they said was that this was a decision made after the Academy consulted ABC, which is airing it. It says, in quotations, the industry. And that's where they got their feedback. I think it's mostly ABC because ABC is like ratings for the Oscars keep falling and falling and falling. And the one big complaint on top of another big complaint is that it's too long. It runs too long. And the other complaint is since they don't nominate big movies, like they said, like the only movie to be nominated for Best Picture this year to earn over $100 million is Dune. A lot of people haven't heard of the other Best Picture nominees. So in their statement, they basically said that they did this because they want to ensure like viewership engagement. Basically saying that those categories are too boring to air during the live show.
Well, that is ridiculous because hair and makeup is always one that's fire. I mean, that's one where like comic book nerds, that's where we can win one. Suicide Squad, Academy winning movie, even if it is the crap version. I forgot it did. Yeah, baby.
I forgot it.
Even if it is the crap version, release the haircut, it still does it. But I think hair and makeup, what did I say? Production design. Yeah, because that shit's important. Like you like even if it's just on green screen, like Dune, like you don't get that movie without the world around it.
Right.
You don't get that. Like you're not getting this aura of a
right. Well, what's weird is about excluding specifically ones that are for big movies, like excluding score and production design and sound and film editing. It's weird that they excluded those and they left in like costume design that'll be on the live show. Visual effects will still be on the live show. I mean, I know that some of these like people care about more than others, but like, best original song will still be on the live show. Then of course the big ones like lead actor, actress, supporting actor.
Oh yeah, those ones. But those are again, like my personal point, those are all awards that people will like just know.
Right.
So they're obviously like your argument of they just want to make it more fun for it. Totally it. Like that's it.
So like
no one cares, but like they should really take a second look at that list if you're me. Like,
I think they should. I mean, I get just playing devil's advocate. I get why ABC, because ABC, like it's a business for them. They're airing it on their network, and
yeah,
they
it's a
want
3-hour
people,
slot on the
and they're
best
like,
movie.
yeah, it's long, it can be longer depending on how long they try to do it. Sometimes goes over 3 hours, and they have to like get people. They have to have people to buy advertising space for those 3 hours. And if every year they've noticed in the last few years that the ratings have dropped and dropped and dropped, they are trying to do what they can to alleviate that drop. And I'm not saying that all this will work, because someone also pointed out, like, why does like the Academy and the network keep trying to sell the Oscars to people that don't care about them? Because a lot of people don't care about them. They're made for like people who are really into movies, and some people feel like they don't even like cater to what most like popular moviegoer needs are, which is why, that's why you don't see like a Spider-Man being nominated unless it's visual effects. And they also pointed out like No Time to, like, all these movies that make a lot of money, they're never really acknowledged at the Oscars because they're not really like Oscar worthy films. Like, you're not really, you're supposed to be nominating the best of the best in certain categories, and just because a movie's popular doesn't mean it deserves to be nominated for a big award.
No,
but there's a double-edged sword to that too.
Get that. I totally get that. It's just so hard to like, for me, I mean, yes, Marvel, like, just perfect example is just Marvel in general. Marvel, super popular movies, great, some of them well done, big directors. But the reason that they were so popular and were lauded for such what is because they've had IP that's been going for 80 years and they fell in love with this character. So
yeah,
like for me, like I'll die on a hill for Batman versus Superman. But like that just
alone, you'll just die alone.
I will die alone on that hill. But like I'm not like in everyone says great cinematography, all this shit, but it's not gonna float because it's got so much backing on it. Yeah. If you bring something new to the table, like the Power of the Dog, like that was a fantastic movie. But yeah, I see that not many people are gonna sit around and watch a 2-hour movie on Netflix. That's not really exciting. But
right.
That movie was the writing was fantastic. The acting was unbelievable. I had to wait. I had to like sit there for 10 minutes afterwards being like, wait, what the hell just happened? And then once I read online, I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah.
So like, I think I think the Oscars kind of like just thinks that like they're, really it needs to hit you right after. It can't just be like a Michael Bay win and bam or any of the Marvel movies.
Right.
But what I don't like even more is the industry, like, or Marvel again, just picking on Marvel, for like manipulating their movies to get in more categories. Like you getting an Oscar is not going to get you more money than it already has.
Yeah, it's like you don't even need that to prove yourself at this point.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like, what do you want to get Tom Holland Best Actor? Like,
that's
not going to happen.
I thought it was funny more than anything that, and I loved Spider-Man. I love the last one. I love
it too.
And
yeah,
like, but I thought it was kind of funny when Sony put out all those like for your consideration ads for it in every single category. Like it was like Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Picture, and I was like, it's not gonna happen. Like I think, like, and some people thought it could because it was so popular, and it is, and like based purely on like number of reviews and number of positive reviews, it does have better reviews than some of the movies that got nominated for Best Picture this year. But I just knew based on what it is, it wasn't going to happen. And some people pointed out Black Panther, but Black Panther was more of a cultural movement than anything. So that had very.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh. Right. So like, I just knew it wasn't going to happen, and like, but it does kind of. I talked about it with Owen last time. It creates this like disconnect between casual moviegoers and the people who watch stuff like the Oscars. So they're not gonna. Casual moviegoers aren't going to see the stuff that they.
Quick, easy fix. Oscars, read the room. There is a bunch of people who aren't watching because their movies that they like aren't winning or even being nominated. Why don't you just make a fucking category for comic book movies?
Well, remember a few years ago when they toyed with the idea of doing like a popular movie Oscar, and they brought that up in the public, and then a lot of people were like, well, no, like that kind of takes away from like
money. That's the most popular. That's just like, that's such a broad thing. But if you just did like, if you made parameters being like, IP, like the IP's been around for 40 some odd years, la da da, you know, last one hasn't a trilogy or a new movie has been made 10 years since of it, so it's a completely new thing. And there's going to be 4 or 5 comic book movies every single year, and then you can toss in some like other. You can toss in the fucking the James Bonds and the, you know, all the other, like, you know, fun movies that are over the top. But like, because you don't really have a genre for them. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is horror. You can make a best horror film nominee. You can't make a best comic book one, because then it's like, all right, well then why are we just doing a best action film one? So it's like, we'll just lump them all together. Yeah, not the popular, but like, not. And they shouldn't just call it popular. Just to call it something else, honestly. But like, you know.
Well, I guess on the one hand, you can't just let everything in, right? You can't just be like, oh, let's try to like please everyone. It's like, and I get what you're saying. It's just like you can't like try to please everyone, because then it's like, doesn't it diminish what like the Oscars kind of represent? It's supposed to like. It doesn't necessarily represent like something that made $1 billion last year.
But like it's you know, it's the Martin Scorsese's and all those, you know, directors that are like, oh, those aren't film productions, those are computer, which, yeah, and I mean, yes, they are. It's 100% right. But like, let's see you do that. Like, it's very, very hard to visualize a director in his head when he's filming with just green screen, and then like people do that. So like there is a lot of technical and like really
I'm
skills that should be acknowledged.
I'm very much against that, like that theory that like the people that are making comic book movies aren't making real films. It takes a lot. I mean, for anyone that a lot of actors who have heard other directors say that about the directors who have worked on these movies are like, it's so disrespectful, because there's so much work that goes into it. And it does take a considerable amount of talent to do it. Like, it's like you have to have, your imagination has to be like, you know, through the roof.
No, your attention to detail of all that, it needs to be a little bit more. I mean, like, it's not like we're going through even a James Bond movie looking for Easter eggs. Like, only go Easter egg for movies like, you know, that we're talking about, where like they dropped like. John Watts always drops the freaking license plates. Or, you know, Zack Snyder names the police officers after the guys who wrote the comic book that it was based on. Stuff like that, where it's like, oh, okay. But that's awesome directing. That's like attention to detail. So
I don't know, the Oscars are always going to have this problem. I mean, it's not like my idea. I mean, I don't know if ABC really wants to let it go. But like the Oscars seems like it would do fine if they just streamed it and not earned it, like, and not aired it on like a network. And
if they made it more fun for the people in the audience, because that must be one of the most annoying, like boring.
Well, that's why people love the Golden Globes, because the Golden Globes, it's more loose. They're sitting at banquet tables, they're drinking.
So they're all having a good time.
Like there's something very stuffy about like the Academy Awards, and that's always kind of been the case. You know, I think they're like grasping at straws, trying to get more people to watch them. And I don't even think this is going to help, like taking out these categories. I don't think that's going to help either. I think it's just like, especially in the last few years with the way things have been just in real life, I don't think like a lot of regular people want to watch a bunch of rich people like give themselves awards. I think that has a lot to do with it too.
No, again, read the room, Oscars. Like, read the room. Like, make it, like, I think they were trying to get Tom Holland actually to host it.
They did. I heard that they've tried. I think they tried with. I think they've talked about The Rock like, as well. Yeah.
No, you got to make it more fun. It's not. I mean, like the only time I really have gotten excited for the Oscars at all was Leo when he for Revenant. That was the only time I was really excited when he won. I wanted him to get it. He deserved it for like 3 other movies beforehand. So that was the only time I watched it, and that's because it was Leo. But like, you know, not much.
Yep. So also on going back to the video game tip a little bit. Speaking of another video game movie that was insanely successful in 2020, that's getting a sequel in like a little over a month. So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes out April 8th.
That blue little bastard.
His sequel comes out April 8th. But Paramount already greenlit Sonic the Hedgehog 3 And on top of that, they greenlit a Paramount Plus spinoff show about just Knuckles, and Idris Elba is going to return to do the voice because he's doing the voice of Knuckles in the second one. Um, Sonic the Hedgehog, actually, the first one, it came out like right before everything shut down in 2020, and probably would have made even more money had theaters had not closed. It was already making a lot of money, and a lot of people are excited for the sequel because it's bringing in a lot of the fan favorite stuff they remember as kids from the games. But yeah, I think it's interesting that Paramount has that much faith in it to be like, all right, we're already gonna move ahead with the third one, and the second one hasn't even come out yet.
Well, first off, I friggin' love this. I mean, Sonic was such a good 90s character because he went from like the Sega console with the big ass controller to the little to this, and now they actually make it. And then on top of that, let's not forget that this movie, or the last one, literally was revolutionized in like a week because of all the bad hate.
Oh, because all the angry look, oh, he looks terrible.
Dude, bro, he looked like a mouse. It was terrifying to look at. Yeah. And they're like, all right, fine, we'll make him look exactly like the character. Boom, they do it, and then they get Jim Carrey with a phenomenal mustache, and it goes great. And so, I mean, it's great. It's something that for Paramount to give to kids now as IP.
Right. And it had like you said, like it had so many odds working against it. Like, basically having to redo all of him, redo his design for the whole movie. The entire movie. And like, so everyone was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And when it came out and it wasn't terrible, and then they fixed him, he looks great. A lot of people said Jim Carrey was like better in that than he had been in stuff in like a lot in recent years. And like, there was a lot of, especially for a video game movie, there was a lot of positive reviews for it. I enjoyed it too. I thought it was fun. And I think they are probably going to cater more to people who like the games in this one, especially bringing in Tails and Knuckles. And it'll probably be more exciting for not just kids now, but people my age who grew up playing the video game.
And for me, the reason I like these movies so much too is that, like, perfect example is Knuckles and Idris Elba, is that you can just get A-list actors to sit in a voice studio for 3 days, bang out their lines and call it a day, and it's great because you have a name attached to it. It's not too hard for them to do. All you have to do is get just keep adding characters in and just keep having funny things. All of a sudden you get this whole universe where it's like you're on Paramount Plus every week with a new show, The Adventures of whatever. Yeah. And you have actors, and it's great.
So yeah, now they're like doubling down on it. They're like, we have the movies, now we can spin off characters in their own shows. Like, we can create our own little like Sonic the Hedgehog universe, basically.
Exactly, which is what you need on these streaming services.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem with some of them, that they don't have that. Mostly Peacock. It doesn't have that, and like that a lot of them need to kind of rely on that IP to kind of be successful in the streaming game, I think, which is what Paramount Plus is doing. I mean, Paramount Plus had a big day that day, so they had like an investor day that day, and they announced a lot of things other than Sonic. I guess the biggest one, because there was like speculation about what kind of direction they were going to go with the Star Trek sequel, if they were just going to go with another idea or keep J.J. Abrams reboot cast in it. A lot of people wanted them back, but they weren't sure if they're going to come back. But they are officially coming back. That includes Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho, and Simon Pegg are all coming back for another Star Trek film. And it seems like everyone wanted them back, and this is probably good news for the franchise, which is I'm not like a Star Trek person, but I actually liked all the ones that they did with this cast.
Oh, dude, these Star Trek movies are great.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, I personally didn't like the Star Trek, the old stuff, because it's way past our time. Yeah. But great space travel movie. Chris Pine, this is like a young Chris Pine too. Like the last 2 or 3 movies came out like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I think the special effects are great, and J.J. Abrams does good space odyssey movies, and so I think this is a great idea. I'm happy that everyone's back, and it's again another world for Paramount to play with.
Yeah, and is Zoe Saldana officially the queen of the nerds? Because like she's in Avatar, she's in Guardians of the Galaxy, so she's like she's gotten like every major like nerd IP like kind of grounded. She's been in all, like she doesn't care about being under heavy makeup. Like that seems to be like she's been in like almost every kind of.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Trying to think if there can anyone could beat her.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, like to be in, you have the Marvel universe down, you got Star Trek down, and then you have, you know, the Avatar movies, which she's coming back for too. So like,
yeah, I mean, we can dub her on this podcast. You heard it here.
Queen of the Nerds.
You heard it here first. When back to the blockbuster, Zoe Saldana is the queen of the nerds. And then I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I know there were a lot of ideas that were floating around with Star Trek. I know Quentin Tarantino talked about doing one. They had another one being floated around with Noah Hawley that created like Fargo and Legion and stuff. So there were a lot of different ideas they were messing with, but it was always up in the air whether or not this cast was going to come back, especially after Star Trek Beyond didn't make as much money as they wanted it to. But I think this cast has a lot of good fan goodwill, and that's probably for the best that they did bring them back. And you just got to put them in a good movie with a good story, and it'll be perfect.
No, yeah, it's especially since again, it's like we're coming out of this time where studios probably weren't. I mean, I know for a fact studios are not spending money on advertising over online during the pandemic, so they have all this money backed up. Start throwing stuff out there, man, and this is the time where you're gonna get restrictions lifted and so we're gonna try and get back to normal and whatnot. So yeah, let's just try and get everybody back together, get the gang, and go from there. And I think it's just a good idea that they're gonna do this now.
Yep, I agree. And then another thing they dropped on their investor day was that they're doing A Quiet Place Part 3, which is weird though. The release date is 2025, so there's a long wait for Part 3. There is another Quiet Place movie coming out in 2023, but it's not a direct sequel. It's in the same universe, and John Krasinski wrote the story for it, but he's not directing it and he's not writing the full screenplay. But so they're also creating their own little universe of movies, which is so crazy because A Quiet Place didn't seem like it was designed for that. It seemed like it was like a one and done, and they got really lucky and it made a lot of money, and they got really lucky with the second one, which also made money during like movie theaters reopening again last year.
It's another. I mean, I think we should just call this episode like the universe building, because they have a phenomenal concept or a base idea.
Yeah,
you can obviously follow Emily Blunt and the kids, and now Cillian Murphy, but you can just do this everywhere in different cities and then grab another A-lister.
Yeah, because someone was saying that because they haven't talked about what the spinoff is about yet. They haven't given like plot details, but if it's in the same universe, I mean, you're right. They can actually like have it can be in a different location, like where, there's a lot they can do with that story.
New York, give me a New York City one.
Yeah.
Give me a Europe one. We're not looking at 28 Days Later, but like, give me a couple of those. It'd be really awesome. Like maybe one of them is like a team up where it's like 7 of them, like Army of Thieves type deal. So, and again, John Krasinski has proven himself as like a good director, so I just let him keep doing that. And again, he can do no wrong. Just everyone loves him too. So it's like everything in that. But it's like I can't think of a bad thing.
Yeah,
they're cheap. Their movies are relatively cheap to make.
Yep.
Good director, likable cast, completely original. I mean,
yeah.
Paramount.
It's so simplistic too, but it works. I mean, like, I like when I saw the first one, I just remember thinking like, okay, like this was pretty new and original, and then they made a lot of money, and I was like, well, like with anything that makes money, they're gonna try to sequelize it. And I wasn't expecting much from the second one, and I was surprised by how much it like stood up well with the first one. So maybe it just wasn't like a lucky one-off idea. Like if he kind of sat down with it and was like, okay, I think we can kind of build something here and make it work. I think that's pretty cool. Like, it's especially with horror movies now, because there aren't a lot of original ideas anymore. I mean, you have I think it's easier to kind of base you have your Halloweens and your Screams and Texas Chainsaw Massacres and stuff, so it's easy to kind of jump on that. But to have like original horror films with really good ideas that are well received and see them make money is like exciting to watch, especially if you're a horror movie fan.
No, yeah, I can imagine for you especially. I mean, that's one I won't consider that horror. I mean, I think that's more like
The thriller,
suspense. Yeah, rather than horror. But still, I think it's great. I think
yeah. I'm surprised that the release date is so far away. It's like 2025. I mean, I know like a lot of studios do this. They kind of just let you know what's on their calendar. But that's like, it seems like such a long wait. You think they would want to strike with iron time, but I mean, maybe it's good that they're not trying to rush it.
Yeah, I wouldn't rush it if they don't have to.
Yeah. And you know what? There was one thing I wanted to kind of touch on, even though I didn't like include it in the notes that we did. But I know that I think you might be interested in it. It's the Blade Runner. They're doing a sequel series to Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, please.
At Amazon Studios, which is, Amazon is doing this thing too, where they're trying to create like for their series, like basing it off like really big IP, so they can kind of like expand on it and kind of make their TV universe is pretty huge, which is why they're doing Lord of the Rings. They want Lord of the Rings to be like their Game of Thrones, basically,
and it will be.
And I think it will. I mean, yeah, they're hoping, they put a lot of money into it. This I think is a good idea because like it's like because the last Blade Runner, even though it got decent reviews, didn't really make a ton of money like here. It did well like worldwide, but I think this is it's a good way to go if you want to keep this going. And there's a lot more world building you can do with a TV show.
I know for a fact that this is going to work. And I don't know if a lot of people know this about Blade Runner 2049, is that Denis Villeneuve, whatever how you say his name, the director, asked director friends to make prequels to his 2049 movie. They're all on YouTube, and they're all about like 10 minutes.
Oh, I did not know that.
There's one that's an anime, and it explains the whole, like, remember when they're in the archive section with the bald dude? He's like, the blackout, and everything was gone for 10 days.
Yeah.
They explain that in an anime that directly connected to 2049. They have another one, whatever, I forgot the one that was. And then the last one is a short with Dave Bautista, which directly connects to the first scene of the movie. Because everyone's like, I mean, if you've seen it as much as I have, the first time I was like, how the hell did Ryan Gosling get to his house? Like, how did that all happen? If you watch the prequel or the little short, it's like 5 minutes.
It lets you know, like,
they let you know exactly what happened, and it's like, okay, wow, like this is really, really good. Like, I want to see more about this. Like, so I highly recommend checking out like their short stories. They're all on YouTube and they're really good. But I know for a fact that they can just do that, and that was all world building up to one movie. If they can they can go to, again, New York City, Miami, any of these other cities, and just kind of recreate it. It'll be freaking awesome.
Yeah, and like this is right now tentatively titled Blade Runner 2099. They are actually moving ahead with it pretty quickly. They said they're already fast tracking scripts and potential production dates to start filming. And Ridley Scott is producing it. And if he has the time, if the series moves forward, he will be attached to direct episodes as well, which is good for him.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I think it's just like a really good idea to do this way. Like, especially if it's not going to work as a film, if you really not, it could work as a film, but I mean, like, if you don't want to put them spend into it to like be like, oh, it's gonna be too risky if we put this much money into it and it flops, like kind of doing a show like this gives it a little bit more space to kind of
Yeah,
find success in a different way.
Oh yeah, it didn't get good to the second episode. You know,
Right.
just wait on it. But my issue with it being 2099 is that I think, because again, we also have to look at Amazon as weird. Like from the United States, yeah, it didn't do well, but as you said, it did well
Globally, yeah.
globally. If you just like push that 10 years, call it 2055, then I think you could really like ground it in Denis Villeneuve's world. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of like miscues or whatnot, because obviously like they did Ridley Scott one, waited like 30 years into this one. And if you look at both of them, there are similarities, but like obviously over time it's grown. But like,
Right.
don't make the next jump like so crazy where it's like all of a sudden we're in the metaverse and it's like these people are just holograms. It's like, all right, why don't we, pull it back a little bit? We would rather do something else with that. So I think they should pull back on the years, but they definitely have to go through with the series. It's a really, really, really good concept and world.
Yeah, and I can see
it's a premonition to us. We killed the world.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have 2 renewals. I don't watch one of these shows, but it got increasingly more popular with each episode. They renewed Peacemaker for a second season at HBO Max.
Yeah, buddy.
I hadn't started watching it. I had to report like it's okay. HBO Max doesn't release like their figures really. They have this but this thing called Samba TV like reads data. And it initially hadn't started all that well as far as like people watching it, but I guess it increased in viewership as it like kind of went along. And a lot of people apparently love the finale because they've been talking about it for days since it aired. So I mean, I'm willing to get into it now that it got renewed.
I've watched all of it.
Okay.
And to backstory this, I was not okay with this to begin with. And again, like I've said before, like I think on Lost, I'm a DC stan. Like, why has Warner Brothers just not been able to hit the head on anything? The Henry Cavill, the Batman, all like it's such a mess.
Right.
And then amidst Marvel firing James Gunn for tweets and then rehiring, and we hire him for Suicide Squad. And there's still unresolved issues with the last Suicide Squad, and like bits and pieces are coming out on the internet now. It's like, okay, why don't you just do the air cut too? Like we did this Snyder cut, yada yada. So when he did Suicide Squad, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give him a chance. He's done great with the Guardians, like whatever. So I mean, if we're gonna give him any IP, let's give him Suicide Squad to mess around with. It was good. Again, I think everyone just hates on DC because it's not Marvel. Like it's just like if you just looked at Suicide Squad in itself, it was a good movie. Would you like? I mean, it wasn't knocking my feet off crazy, but like it was good. It was exactly what you'd expect in a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And for him to go into out of all these characters, Peacemaker and John Cena, it's like, really, dude? Like no one knows what Peacemaker is. Like if you did Idris Elba and his character. Bloodsport, that'd have been awesome. You could have done a King Shark one, people would have loved it, but whatever, forever. I had faith in it, so I watched it. And
won you over.
What I would say is it won you over. You just have to watch the show for what it is and like what it's giving you. If you think about it in the terms of like, oh my God, this show connects to the to Aquaman, and which it does, and to the Flash, and it's like you're just gonna be ruined by it because like you're just gonna be like, no, it's this camera style, the way it, like the way it's filmed, like the costumes that they use, like no, like I can't accept that. But if you just watch the show and it's hilarious, it's very funny. John Cena does a great job.
Yeah, I heard it plays to his strengths
100%. Yeah. Obviously there's sometimes where James Gunn gets a little too like weird, where it's like, all right, dude, I don't need to see John Cena in tidy whities with a stuffed chunk, but it's funny, and you take it for what it's worth. And there's good action.
Yeah.
They don't waste any characters. Like they're like, all right, well, he's done. Like we can't use him anymore in the universe. The Vigilante is actually very funny. He's like sidekick. And then, they didn't take any comic book IP. He made a story up. It was good. to keep faith to all the other stuff in the DC world, he added in Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
And then the reason they were talking about the season finale is, I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning.
One more.
They had one more spoiler warning. They had the Justice League show up at the end.
Yeah, I actually saw that online. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the issue is now that everyone's up in arms is that it wasn't Henry Cavill as the stand-in, and then Cyborg and Batman, I think, were originally there, but they got cut.
Okay.
So everyone's like, "Fuck this!"
Oh,
and I think it's fair for Batman not to be there because he can't get there fast. You know, he's got to get a jet.
He's got no superpowers.
Yeah. But Cyborg, it was like, if we don't use Ray Fisher, there could be a huge like just shitstorm on our hands. So let's just leave that out of it. But yeah, no, great movie, great thing. I hope they expand a little bit more and they give James Gunn some more money for some special effects.
Yeah.
And I hope they tie it into like a movie because they do tie like Suicide Squad in with all that and they do like make funny quips and everything. It's like you do get tired of like him being like, yeah, Aquaman fucks fish, or like, Batman's a pussy, or it's like, yeah, Wonder Woman's checking me out from across the room. It's like, but then they come full circle with that, and he's like, dude, do you not realize he has a story for every single one of the superheroes that's better than him? Like,
yeah,
it's not, none of it's true. So like, if you just see it, it's like, okay, we're good. It's a fun show. So I definitely recommend watching it and just take it for what it is. It's not trying to like bust your brain or anything.
Yeah, I gotta add it to the list. I mean, the more that I heard people kind of praising it like episode to episode, I was like, all right, I probably should have watched it. Because I like that character in the Suicide Squad. I thought, because I think John Cena's funny. I think he plays to his sensibilities really well, and he really knows his range and his humor and all that stuff. So he does that well, and he leans into it really well.
He did. He was great as Peacemaker. It's just no one knows who Peacemaker is.
Right. No one. Yeah, and I think that could have been why the initial like numbers weren't great, right? Because no one was like, I don't know who this is. Even with the movie attached. I mean, because like the movie, unfortunately, it released in theaters and on HBO Max, and it probably didn't get seen by as many people as it probably could have or should have, given like its budget and scope and what it was intended for. But they get to discover it now, and then like it gets another season, so that's good. And James Gunn is gonna write and direct all the episodes next season, so that's good too. He's fully involved in it.
I mean, he wrote this over quarantine just because he was bored. And he's like,
talk about someone that like really turned it around after getting fired, rehired. Like, good for him.
When you make movies that consistently make over $700 million,
yeah, you could be easily forgiven.
There's not much you can be like, sorry. I mean, do you want me or not? Kind of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the last renewal we're going to talk about, because I kind of forgot the show existed. Now that I don't like it anymore, I loved it, but because of COVID and everything, Stranger Things, its fourth season got delayed and delayed and delayed. But it's finally coming in 2 volumes beginning in May of this year, and then the second one will be July 1st. And then they also announced that season 5, which will be coming later, is going to be the last season of the show. I want to like, I give Stranger Things so much credit because like it, even though we've kind of been without it for a little bit, it really kind of changed, especially with like the Netflix originals. It really changed how successful they can really be, and like the kind of height of popularity they can get. And like, I don't know if people forget that because it's been a while since, in between seasons. Like, I think they said, the 3rd season debuted more than 2.5 years ago and they had to hit the delay on that because of COVID and all that stuff. But it kind of, Stranger Things really reignited the whole like nostalgia thing, like the whole like kind of like Goonies throwback, and then they kind of just like started using that in like a bunch of stuff, right? They use it in like, in It, when they did that in like 2017, 2018. Like, so that style of like, the whole like Goonies throwback 80s style that kind of Stranger Things like repopularized. I think people kind of forget that because there's been kind of like a gap but I'm excited to see how they finish it out and what they do with it. I mean, I guess it was one of those shows I couldn't go on too long since those kids are beyond going through puberty, so they were getting older, and it's probably not as fun with them like without them being like young. But I'm excited that it's coming back. And then the Duffer Brothers also said that even though the show is ending, that won't stop them from making other shows within the universe. So like they are going to try to keep that universe live, which is like another, it's that thing again of.
So I'm a big fan of Stranger Things. Obviously, it was a cult following when it first came out. It was like one of Netflix's like number one, like, oh, Netflix, you have Netflix, you watching Stranger Things? It was that buzzword, like you gotta watch it, 11 this, 11 that. But yeah, no, it's difficult to make a cult following show with kids who are like 10 or like 11. It's impossible. Like you really gotta like maneuver around that. My thing is always just wait a couple of years, and then like the kid, like the boy is gonna look, the kid's gonna look like that for another 3 years. So do that. The girl is gonna get older than the boys faster. It's just science. So like just do it. Wait a couple of years, and it's always fun. Like you defeated the villain. Awesome.
Yeah.
You can always just say the villain's coming back in 3 years, like like it, like they did it right. They did it right by really honing in on we gotta change it up, or it's just gonna look weird. But it does work sometimes. One time I can tell you it does not work with like it's a Danger Will Robinson whatever.
Lost his face.
Lost his face. The kid looks like he's 17 now, so it's awkward. But I'm excited for it. I just really hope that there is some time. I can't remember really what happened in the end of the last one.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch it too. I mean, it's been so long. When I read it was 2.5 years since like the last season, I was like, Jesus, I didn't feel that long, but I guess it happened because like I remember when they were going back to shoot season 4, and then they were just hit with so many delays because of COVID, and they couldn't get it done. And then they had to deal with the whole like they already were dealing with this issue of them getting older, but now they have to deal with it being kind of accelerated because it's like they had plans to get done with it, like to do this sooner, and now they have to work around like, okay, now they're like significantly like going to look different, like, be older and all that stuff too. But it'll be exciting to see how they kind of. I don't know how I feel about the whole universe building. Like I think like. I know we talked about
that's hogwash. I don't think like there's great IP. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But, like you're gonna try and let it be. But like you're gonna try and tell me that there's another super secret facility in another part of the country.
Yeah.
That they're doing this in, and then there's another 11. Like there's a certain point where I think that like IP should die. Like with Blade Runner, we can just there's a whole you can make a lot of new stories out of that. But the Stranger Things base idea is like a magical kid with powers and monsters, in an upside down world that we really don't understand and still don't understand like 4 seasons in. So let it die after the show. Let it run. We'll show it to our kids, later, like down the line, you got to watch Stranger Things, or they'll remake it. But
oh God, don't do that. You know what? I forgot about this rule. I didn't see it. I forgot this is on the list. I'm only bringing it up because I actually watched the first few episodes of this because I kept hearing that it was terrible. So I expected it not to get renewed. But they renewed How I Met Your Father, even though I think it has like a impressive 34-35% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And a lot of people don't like it. And it is a sequel series to How I Met Your Mother, which was immensely popular.
It directly connects to.
Yeah, it's like in some way. Yeah.
Who's Hilary Duff? What's her connection to the show? Is she like the daughter of one of Barry?
So she's not. So it's like it takes place within the same universe.
That's fine.
And like follows the same kind of like Kim Cattrall plays the older version, and and of course telling the story about how they met their father or whatever. The first episode, especially the pilot, is like cringy to watch. Like it's like I don't know if they just weren't finding like the right groove, or if they were just trying too hard to be funny, or if the scripts weren't funny. I totally understood what people were saying, like, oh, this is not that good. And then I watched it again, like watched the other episodes, and it still hasn't gotten that much better. And I thought Hulu would for sure cancel it. But no, I think that's like, again, it might be just be the power of like name recognition and brand recognition. It has that behind it probably, and I'm sure people were watching it based on that. But like,
I'm gonna hand up here. You're not talking to the right demo. Either of us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
coming from a business standard, I think, our business perspective, I think it would just be like, we need original content.
Yep, I think so too. I mean, and I will say this as someone that's I don't mind Hillary Duff still getting work. I think that's cool. She's fine and she's not bad on the show. It's just like, I guess I can kind of see why it's not that good, because like I read that they tried to develop this show 3 different times at CBS and with 3 different showrunners, and it didn't work. And then Hulu finally just bought it. So like if it didn't work the first 3 times, I just don't see why they try to go for it again. But like, I just thought with the bad reviews that they weren't going to renew it, and then they did. So if there are any fans out there of How I Met Your Father, good for you. But it's just not, I guess it's supposed to be in our demographic though. It is made like, they're in their like mid late 20s, early 30s. So like, it's supposed to be that demo. I just don't. It's like really bad sitcom-y, cringy bad.
Yeah,
like,
but okay. I mean, okay, no, just to have a little discussion. Imagine if they did an actual like How I Met Your Father, but actually showed what us like 27, 28, 29-year-olds do to meet that.
No.
That would be a show. But you have to have this like awkwardly cringy, like Hillary Duff goes on like 15,000 dates, or like there's an episode where she exclusively swipes on Bumble. Like there would need to be that type of stuff to be like, all right, I can possibly relate to this.
Yeah,
but
and all her friends are like a type. They're all like what you would expect on a sitcom like this, and like they
basically hit the color wheel and the political wheel all in one.
Yep, they really did. But yeah, good for them.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just
no, not at all.
Really tiresome, and it's really hard to justify it sometimes.
I don't know, just like
in my head.
Write better scripts for it too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe season 2 will improve on whatever issues from season 1. I can just barely get through the pilot, and then I tried to watch more, and I could barely get through those. So not hooked me at all, but probably hooked some of you.
I think it's lame.
I guess one of the last things I'm going to bring up, just because I love Baz Luhrmann, and he is directing the Elvis movie. And
come on, we gotta talk about the kid.
Yeah, and he the trailer finally came out last week, and I was just really I guess I don't know anything about Austin Butler except that he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And he looks like there are shots in the trailer of him where he looks convincingly like scarily like Elvis. And he is like the embodiment of it. He has the performing stuff down. It seems like there were some concerns like based on his age at the time he was cast, but like when he got cast, like he had like they were like it was almost like 2 years of like immersing himself in the life of Elvis. And
that's a dangerous road right there.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks is in it too. I haven't seen a Baz Luhrmann movie. I love all his movies. They're not for everyone because they're big spectacles.
I will say this movie is not winning hair and makeup if it's solely based on our boy Tom Hanks, because I really hope they fix his like he looked fucking terrible.
Well, I was getting like Jared Leto House of Gucci vibes when I saw it a little bit.
No, dude, you can't even like it was. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, Tom Hanks is a legend, and just to parade him out like that, like just some idiot, is such bull. But no, yeah, what's the kid's name?
Austin Butler.
He looks great. I think he's gonna do well. It's really hard to try and capture the essence of Elvis, like
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about. I've seen, you know, a bunch of him. I loved his music, but I just hope that did you see the Elton John movie?
Yeah, I love that. I actually
Yeah.
prefer that to like Bohemian Rhapsody, which I in retrospect did not like as much.
Well, okay. Well, I would do the opposite. I lean more towards keeping it straight. Like, don't make any new songs up or like that. Just sing the ones that made it popular, that like bring the nostalgia back, and then you know, illuminate some type of cool relationship that Elvis had, or bad
Yeah.
relationship that no one knows about, which is obviously the premise of this film.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see like what perspective they really do it from it. Are they doing it from him, or is it gonna be like his connection with Colonel Tom Parker, who Tom Hanks is playing? Because I've actually heard it described both ways. So I'm just wondering like how I wonder what approach they're really gonna take as far as like whose eye it's gonna be from mostly. But it'll be interesting. We're getting like a ton of biopics like soon. Like we got Elvis, the Whitney Houston one comes out in December. The guys who did Bohemian Rhapsody are doing one about Michael Jackson. Like, there's a lot of these like kind of in the pipeline a little bit. Which is
I'm
kind of
down
cool.
with that.
Kind
I
of cool.
mean,
My only concern with like something like even with Elvis, I guess. So like Elvis, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, there's just all this like unsavory stuff that is also associated with them. And when it's done with the approval of their estate, which it is with Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson, I'm not sure about Elvis. Um, can you fully tell like a real story if your estate, your family is putting it together? Like, will you include all the stuff that people don't really want to talk about? Or are you going to gloss over it and kind of sugarcoat things, particularly
well,
in a life of like Whitney Houston or Michael Jackson?
okay. Well, we can use The Dirt with Motley Crue as a barometer. That shit was pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was legit. I mean, they gave you all the bits and pieces of each of the guys. So, I mean, I think going down that road would be the best. It's like, yeah, like I think that realness of it made it work. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I like think about too is this is why I didn't like Bohemian Rhapsody all that much is because I feel like it going PG-13 and all that, it kind of did sugarcoat a lot of Freddie Mercury's life. And I know there was issues with them changing certain things about his life. That was like always my issue. At least with Rocket Man, like Elton John was like, "Hey, I did all this stuff. Show all the drug addiction, show everything. Like this is the life I lived."
Dude, party.
He did, yeah. So like when you're getting like a biopic like this, I just hope that they try to keep it honest. But I know that's hard when like the family and the estate's involved. But yeah, on the Elvis thing, I'm excited to see it because like Baz Luhrmann is just like a good visual director, especially for something like that. Like the performance sequences are going to be pretty damn good if they're like reminiscent of kind of the stuff he kind of set up with like Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby and stuff like that. If he kind of stages them that way, but yeah, it should be good. I hope it's good. And this might be the thing that makes Austin Butler a big star. Because the only thing I knew about him was that he was in West Side in Hollywood and he dated Vanessa Hudgens.
Who was he in West Side?
Well, let me give you his name really quick. So in that movie, he played. And the only other thing I knew about him too is that he dated Vanessa Hudgens, so he was also pretty lucky in that regard too.
Yeah, we were still in 2003.
So he has so many credits. Jesus Christ. Oh, it just says that he played a fictional version of the Manson family member Tex Watson.
Oh, he played Tex?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh, he's in the whole he's like in the whole like ending scene too. Yeah.
No, yeah, he's actually very good. Okay, yeah, I liked him. Yeah, I'm the devil.
Yeah, so he should be good.
Devil's bidding.
And that's a good role. He might, when it comes to like, I'm sure Oscar season, we'll be talking about him next year too.
Oh
if the movie's as good as it looks. But yeah, I mean, like, I am, the cool thing with like all this new stuff is that there's so much to kind of get excited for, especially when like the industry was on pause for so long. I'm just looking forward to like what all these things do next. Basically, all the movies that are coming out, different shows that are getting renewed. I forgot to mention this with Peacemaker. I just think it's cool too that like HBO Max and like some of these streaming services are tying like their movies into the show. So like, their HBO Max is doing like Gotham PD, which is going to be a spinoff of like the Batman. They're doing Colin Farrell's Penguin to show what his
I really think that and this is another discussion too that I don't know if you guys have talked about, but Warner Media and Discovery merging together. So Discovery TV, who owns like all these channels you wouldn't know, but they're huge. They're kicking out all of the heads of DC's like main decision makers.
Yeah.
So like these are the people who don't have good relationships with Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot and Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
So I am actually very excited for the future. I have to accept that Ben Affleck is not going to be that anymore. Fine.
He's not. I mean, like he'll. I mean, he gets. Apparently, he will get his little moment. I don't want to call it little because I don't know for sure, but he'll get a moment in the Flash. And he did say that it was the happiest time he had as the character so far filming the Flash. Because he talked about how like it was like. He won't get specific, but we know what he was talking about. He said making Justice League was brutal. It wasn't. And it wasn't just the Joss Whedon stuff. He was going through his own stuff too, but like it didn't help. So like
he signed on to do with Zach. It didn't happen. Whatever. Yeah. Everyone was like, whatever. I don't like that. I like that. I thought he was great. Gave some great scenes. But not the point is that I think they're gonna wait to do all those stuff. They know they can hit with Aquaman. Yeah. They can dangle this really gritty Robert Pattinson thing for HBO Max. And then they can get back to like the fact that a Superman movie hasn't been made, like a sequel, is ridiculous. Like how have they not? How has Superman not fought Brainiac yet? How has he not fought fucking Bizarro? I mean,
I'm just like upset too, like that Henry Cavill really still didn't get his fair shot with that character. I mean, like there could be more that he could do with it, and put him in a better movie. I mean, I don't dislike Man of Steel. I think it's fine. Like more so than most people do.
That's one of my straight up top 5 movies for me. Like,
but like like Warner
put up against a lot.
This is a discussion for another time. But like Warner Brothers, like Warner Media, like the stuff that they ignore or they don't listen to, and like I know some people will say that's just like a bunch of fanboys crying about no, do this, we want to see this, but like sometimes they're right. And I mean, they proved with like the Snyder Cut they were right. And
Sonic fans are right.
So it's sometimes they're right. And Warner Brothers has proven time and time again when they are completely wrong, where they're letting the wrong people make the decisions. But it looks like that ship can be like corrected a bit now, which is a good thing. I wish it would have happened sooner for them.
I mean, it's unfortunate they've lost some good directors to it, and they lost Ray Fisher is going to be an Academy of calling you now, gold, whatever, got Oscar or Academy Award in 10 years for Ray Fisher. He's a phenomenal actor.
Yep.
You lost out one of the best creative minds in the directing game in Zack Snyder, who's now just going to build 3 different universes with 3 different IPs for Netflix with his like space samurai movie, his Army of the Dead movie, and he'll probably think of something else. So.
Yeah,
sucks, but it happens.
But you know what? They forced his hand. He had to he wanted to do something with Warner Brothers. He had an idea to create something really great with them, and with all this time of like all this stuff that fell apart. Like, I'm happy that he found somewhere to build his worlds at, because like whether you love him or don't like his style, like whatever, like. Everything I've heard about him is that he's incredibly nice, and he has a really big creative mind, and then he really loves the filmmaking process, the creative process. So if he can find a spot to like build all the universes that he wants to build, I think that's cool. And if it's Netflix, that's great. But really dropped the ball not having a Warner Brothers, and they've dropped the ball not having a few people. I agree with you too. I think the air cut should happen. Just about everyone involved with Suicide Squad said it should. They know it exists, and they know that they can make something out of it. Warner Brothers is just like digging their feet. Like, no, it's like they're too proud.
But it's like they're digging their feet against like a boulder of money, or like a boulder of subscriptions, or a boulder of owning a weekend. Like, if you just, hey, guess what, guys? The haircut's gone on HBO Max. Like, I'd stop my entire weekend to watch that. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone did, like you said, was with the Snyder Cut. So and again, the Snyder Cut's getting like all these like awards, like best stream movie of the year and all this stuff too. So another discussion for a different day for sure.
Definitely. Well, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I know it was last minute, but I appreciate it to just talk some news. You're gonna, we talked about it. I think you're gonna be back next week. We're doing episode for the 15th anniversary of Zodiac. Woo! So we're gonna be talking about that, and we will reschedule Owen's deep dive into No Country for Old Men because I did rewatch it for this. I haven't rewatched it in forever, and it's so good. I forgot how good it was. Yeah.
So good. It's so good.
I forgot how good it was. So like we will reschedule that for sure because that's gonna be a good movie to talk about. And then of course we have the Batman coming up in a couple of weeks, and then we're gonna have a bunch of guests on for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It turns 25 on March 10th, so there's gonna be a special Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode as well for the TV show, not the movie. I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Congratulations, guests, on your 25-year anniversary of Buffy.
Buffy. Great show.
Congratulations.
It's a great show. But yeah, we have like a lot of cool things lined up, and we kind of are creating ideas for other like themed episodes as well. So we're going to try to give you guys some special stuff in the next few weeks, and our boy Jack will be back to throw in his opinions.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And as usual, we are a playlist original. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast needs. If you want to see our beautiful mugs, you can also check us out on the Back to the Blockbuster YouTube channel. Also, Good Pods HQ is a really good app, and it's a really good app for podcasters that are independent and are trying to find support from other podcasters. You kind of discover it has its own player compared to like that's also similar to Apple Podcasts. But it's a really good app to discover other independent podcasters and kind of link up to collaborate with different people as well. And it's also another good way to boost your signal too. So you're not just focused on one specific location to listen to all this stuff. And we've been doing really well on there and Apple Podcasts. So also appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Like, subscribe, share, 5-star ratings, please.
Yes. I second all of that. Thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Peace.